a touch of fortune as Ez's free kick hits the bar, bounces down and hits Everson and goes in. It's 1-1 and Leicester look to have the game under control until right at the very end when Jean-Philippe Mateta turned away from Souttar, who's playing him onside, and dispatched it beyond Everson, and that goal will give Crystal Palace the 3 points. The very, very last kick of the game. A sickener for Leicester City.
Unbelievable, isn't it? That's going to hurt. It's going to hurt deep, certainly for a short period of time. Leicester are going to have to shake themselves down come Tuesday night, but right now that seems a world away, doesn't it? Jubilation for the home team, the supporters, you'll be able to hear in the background, in their entirety, not just patches and groups. The whole crowd, aside from Leicester's travelling supporters, on their feet, chanting, singing, clapping, enjoying the moment. Total contrast from Leicester's point of view. They've worked their socks off, have to give them credit there. They haven't played well today, but they've battled away, and you thought they were going to get something out of it, whether they deserved it or not. But that's so cruel to go down literally that late in the game, and it just shows you, doesn't it? It just shows you anything can occur. Leicester devastated at the moment. Players on their feet, on their knees, their heads in their hands. They can't let it linger though, can't let it linger. It's one game, it's a point lost. It's not the end of the world, they've got to look forward.
Well, Crystal Palace have snapped their worst winless run for 40 years by beating Leicester City here this afternoon. And that's a tough walk to make when you're a Leicester player right now, from the centre circle where, as Matt Elliott says, the players were congregated, crestfallen, gutted. They'll make the trip over to the travelling Foxes fans and they will applaud them. One of those things where you just have to take your medicine, take it on the chin. This place is rocking, understandably so from a Palace perspective, and that will be difficult to stomach for those Leicester players.
Yeah, especially taking the lead. Leicester supporters massively infused by that, and they thought, hang on a minute, we've turned this game round, but it wasn't to be. They've got to take some responsibility for letting Palace come back at them, but it wasn't their day, was it? The misfortune with the leveller, the way that the game was won by Palace in the very last seconds. There's bits and pieces you can look at, but now's not the time for massive scrutiny. They'll just be absolutely dejected. You can see it on their faces. Not saying they didn't want to go too close to the Leicester fans, but they just want to get out of here. Get out of here now, it's done. Try and erase it from your memory as best you can, as soon as you can. Not going to be easy though.
Well, the players make their way off the ground in the corner here at Selhurst Park and down the tunnel. Beaming smiles on the faces of those donning blue and red. Dejection, dismay, disappointment on the faces of those wearing white and gold. A sickener for Leicester City. Full-time score here in the Premier League at Selhurst Park. It's finished. Crystal Palace 2, Leicester City 1.
Thank you, Niall, from Selhurst Park there alongside Matt Elliott. Really, well, sickening is the right word to use. From Niall there, sometimes you run out of words a little bit, don't you? And what, a 93rd and 94th minute winner for Palace. That is heartbreaking, it really is.
Yeah, you said sickening. It's a crushing blow, it really is. Literally the last kick of the game. And yeah, just the scenes afterwards, jubilation with the Palace fans. They kept on pushing for that goal, and it's going to be a hard one to take, especially in the dressing room. You see the noise that the fans created at the end, and that feeling once you come off from a defeat like that, especially in it's a hard one to take, but got to bounce back. Big game on Tuesday. But at the minute, it's just really difficult, because generally I thought Leicester did enough to get away with the point.
Yeah, it's hard to describe, isn't it? Going down to a goal like that, in all honesty, Dan, it was a hard-fought game. I thought Leicester were decent. They didn't play their best football, but defensively, They showed good aggression today, which I was really pleased with overall. And they didn't do a lot wrong in regards to the winning goal. It was just a fantastic ball, you've got to say, from Aye. Little question marks in the build up, yeah, but the touch from Matete, fantastic and a great finish. But the ball from Aye, he's absolutely fizzed it in, and Matete's just controlled it as if it was a snowflake coming out of the sky, didn't he? And it's a good finish, but obviously emotions will be running high. There's no doubt about that. But a lot of positives to take away from today's game, apart from obviously the result.
It's really difficult. It is really difficult, but so there could be a combination on that right-hand side. Ricardo Pereira, his professionalism comes on at half-time, worked really hard defensively, and then his quality to get a goal, so that could be something going forward, one in front of the other, Castagna, Pereira further ahead. That was a fantastic goal, and then you think Leicester have done enough, as Jerry said, sort of defensive-wise, aggressive, did well, competed. It was a blow for obviously Palace losing Zaha, but generally second half there wasn't too much in it. And then obviously Leicester get the goal, and it was just unfortunate. The equaliser, fantastic technique to obviously the free kick, but when you're near the bottom, them ones, they hit the crossbar and go out, but when you up against it, unfortunately it comes off. Everson, who was terrific throughout, he made some great saves when the defence was breached, and then at the end it's just, it's devastating, it really is. But they've got to get themselves back together. It's tough, but it's 1 point, as Matt said in commentary, sometimes it's, weirdly enough, it's better off losing one, winning one. Now it's, can you go on to home form and go and get the points at home, where really, when you're up against it, that's where you're going to get most of your points from.
Matt, the press box at Selhurst Park, you're right in the corner where the tunnel is, aren't you? And you can probably see the Leicester players as they're coming off. What were their? I assume it was utter dejection amongst them.
Yeah, that's as good a word as any. I mean, instantly, as soon as the goal went in, never mind when the final whistle went, the goal went in, there 3 or 4 of them on the knees, another 3 or 4 of the heads and the hands. They realised the sort of severity of conceding that goal and the impact that it'll have in the short term and immediate term. But it's just as the boys have said there, that they put in a huge concerted effort today. It wasn't pretty. They weren't playing flowing football. They didn't play particularly well. Couldn't string too many passes together. But they battled away from start to finish. And I think the fans recognised that. Although they were disappointed, they still acknowledged the players when they went over to them. In terms of commitment, pretty much most of them, given their all, no complaints on that front. But to concede like that in any game at the last minute, when you've been ahead, you know the importance of what's at stake. All things considered, it has a huge blow, and they're just sunken on their knees, a few of them. Part of me thinks, don't show people how much it hurts, because like your teammates pick up on it and say, it's devastating, it must be really bad. Our skipper's on the floor on his knees, so that can spread. But I think in this instance, it was just the sheer disappointment at the way that things have panned out. Hopefully, they won't let it linger. Dust themselves down. Easier said than done, I know, but it's got to be done. They've got to be positive. They've got to be real strong-minded going into Tuesday.
He makes a good point, Jerry, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think, obviously the immediate aftermath and in the dressing room, everyone's going to be, dejected beyond belief, to say the least. But there's a game coming Tuesday night, and I think it's important. And when you lose a game like that, literally the last kick of the game, you haven't played well in regards to the way the manager wants you to play when you're in possession of the ball. But I think what they showed today, Leicester, probably we haven't seen for a while, is that grit and determination. You've got 2 teams that were desperate for a result today. And yes, Palace at the end managed to get under the line. That was the difference between winning and losing. The free kick obviously a bit fortunate. The lead up, was it a free kick? Wasn't it a free kick? It's debatable. You still have to defend the free kick. It's not like it was an open goal, but there was a lot of fortune that went Palace's way for that goal. You know, Leicester's goal was fantastic. Fantastic little move between Castagna and Ricardo. So, yeah, there's a lot of positives to take out of today.
There are, but it's hard to see them right now.
Yeah, I think because that's the raw emotion, isn't it? You're deflated. You're thinking you're going to come away with a well-earned point, as much as it was the boys have touched on. It was dogged. It wasn't the prettiest of football, albeit other than the goal. It was sort of scrappy, competed, few little half moments, but it wasn't pretty or incisive, but did enough really. You see the shots. I think there's 31 shots for Palace, but there wasn't too many clear-cut chances. But you think you've done enough, and then it is a sickening blow. But the best thing is a game round the corner. But for today, it's hard to take. They'll hear the music on the tunnel with that feeling, and you just sink to your knees. But got to go again. It'll be a completely different game against Villa. I want the fans obviously behind the team and show something and be on the front foot and really attack them, because Villa haven't got too much to play for, which is also a vulnerable situation because they're sort of free-flowing.
Yeah, I think, Dan, it's the teams that are in and around Leicester at the minute and the teams that are desperate for points. I think you're going to see a lot of games like this that we've seen today. You know, scrappy, high energy, you know, desperation at times. I think that's inevitable, you know, because teams are desperate to get points and get over the line, and they're going to try and I don't mean they're just going to throw away everything they thought they were, you know, the structure that each club has had till this point. They're not going to completely throw that away, but you're going to see a lot of teams change tactics slightly, and you're going to see a bit more dogged games like we've seen today.
We just saw that the run of fixtures, Matt, coming up. It goes without saying every single game is vitally important, isn't it? You made a point in commentary about sometimes maybe in 2 games a defeat and a win. It obviously is better than 2 draws, so hopefully that'll be the case on Tuesday.
That's a positive spin on it, Batesy, yeah. Leicester need to do that, need to look at any positives that are there for them. The fixtures coming up. Well, it's been mentioned for a while now, hasn't it? Yeah, Leicester had a bad trot, had some difficult fixtures, and then whatever it is, the last 10 games, excuse me, of the season. Borough Cup, Liverpool's in there, but you wouldn't rule that out. Man City, okay, difficult, but the others, people saying in inverted commas, winnable games. Leicester like to think any game is winnable, but at the moment, every game is looking very difficult. All of a sudden, and you're wondering where 3 points are going to come from. They've got the capabilities. It's not like they're getting crushed and taken to the cleaners week in, week out. There's fine lines between their games, which is a good thing. But listen, there's no sort of golden rule or golden ticket to avoiding relegation. Getting yourself out of trouble. It's just like sticking together, working on showing character. Like, to a degree they have. They're a little bit sloppy at times considering the situation. They started both halves very sloppily, particularly the first, so that was partly down to Crystal Palace. But I was just thinking to myself that they could do with someone, and I don't like dropping any hint of praise on him, but someone like Mr. Gerald Taggart, who's with us today, in that dressing room, just to get a few people on their toes, remind them that they're not going to just fold and melt and let the situation worsen. You can do something about it. The Tags will get hold of a few in a nice way, by the scruff of the neck, or make sure the point was absorbed, shall we say. I'd like to think there are characters within that changing room who can do that for Leicester in the modern day.
What would you do, Jerry?
I'll just leave it to Matt. Too long ago to remember what I used to do in the dressing room.
Yeah,
But I think, Matty's been ultra positive about Leicester's situation, and yet we're here again, defeated away from home after a good battling performance, let's say defensive performance, but we still lost the game. And I suppose it's you're asking the question: when is a penny going to drop? When are you going to turn those potential draws into wins? They booked a trend for a start. They scored first, but couldn't keep a hold of it. I think that was the beginning of the problems. They sort of went back, sat back when they took the lead, and allowed Palace to come forward. And the same with a second goal. Just read it, even though it was right at the end, they just sort of went on the back foot slightly. Palace capitalised. So there's little issues there, but those are the things that are easily fixed. It's all about bucking the trend of the results at the minute. That's the main issue.
No, I was just looking at the graphic there. The goal comes straight away. So Leicester score, they're on a high, and obviously 5 minutes later, Palace are back into it. Then they're on the front foot. You want to preserve that lead as long as possible, and it's just unfortunate whether it was a foul or not. It was a harsh one, and then just the way it's going, that goal goes in, and then Palace are lifted again. Then nothing really happened until them final minutes. There was a few signs where I think it was Edouard turned Sutar, fell over himself. That was one little moment. It was sort of similar for the goal where Matetis turned as well, but just really difficult, isn't it? But when you look at the home fixtures, and the home form's got to be much better than what it's been, but the imperative, you're looking at the Villa game, the Bournemouth game, take out Man City, and then the Wolves game. You're looking on paper, I know it's easier said than done, but you'd be putting a target together, a realistic target of how many points can we achieve from those 3 home fixtures.
Well, tough question, Jerry. What would be a good, realistic return? Let's talk about the 5 in general from those next 5.
Yeah, well, I'd say realistically, well, they need points, don't they? So 15 points up for grabs. You take 9, possibly 10. I know you would take that, but that's the target for me. It's between 9 and 10 points. It's as simple as that. They're going to have to start putting points on the board. Bournemouth won today, coming from behind. So that's put a bit of pressure on us. The Wolves got a draw at Forest. So yeah, the pressure's starting to mount, albeit slowly. It's not as in your face as it could have been after this defeat today if a team like Bournemouth had won. So there's still time to put things right. And it starts on Tuesday night. And everyone talks about these run of fixtures. Sometimes these are the hardest games to win. And obviously right in the middle of that, it's an away trip to Manchester City. So you've got to take full advantage when it comes your way. And this month is I suppose, in a way, is kind to Leicester as regards to fixtures. So they've got to make the most of it.
Everyone always says, Matt, if you've had a tough defeat, which today obviously naturally has been, that it's always good to get a game quickly straight after, and that is the case this week. At least there is a game on Tuesday. King Power Stadium, hopefully the atmosphere will be rocking. We know that it can be at times, so that could be key on Tuesday.
Yeah, listen, yeah, you want to get sort of back on the horse, shall we say, but it's going to hurt, this result, and it's just how long it hurts them for as well. You don't want it to have a negative effect on the next performance. So there's some people might think it's coming around a little bit too soon, but this is where the strength of character collectively needs to come into it. Really, footballers are used to getting over things because you have to. There's so much adversity in the game. You have to deal how to cope with it, but there's levels of it. Sometimes it affects some people more than others, doesn't it? But I think that King Power home supporters will be up for it. there could be different times where there might be a little bit of sort of scepticism and negativity because things aren't going right. But I think the majority of even the home supporters will get to see the last two performances, Brentford and here. Not pretty, not particularly fluent, not attractive to watch, but the effort and commitment for the cause was there. They tried to apply themselves, and I think the supporters will appreciate that. I mean, it's not any sort of discord between the fans and the players. It's just about, you know, the whole situation. There's obviously worry and concern, but I think they'll be behind the players on Tuesday, which would be huge for the players' confidence and their mentality to go into the game. Things can change very quickly, can't they? I've just looked, I didn't actually realise, you may have mentioned, I missed it. Leicester, you know, actually in the bottom three now as well. West Ham 2 games in hand as well. It's a very precarious situation. They need to act, and they need to act fast, don't they? Then they need to turn things around. Can't get to that stage where you sit and feel sorry for themselves, or we're unlucky and it's not going our way. You make your own luck, and you force your own situations. Huge game Tuesday. Lot to play for. Atmosphere should be red hot. Supporters backing the players. Players come out and prove the point and get themselves back on some sort of track.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to see that standard of commitment and performance. They can't afford to drop from that, you know, that level that they showed today, even though they lost the game. I think from now on in, they're going to have to show that grit, that, you know, they showed a bit of fire in their belly today, you know, without controlling the game in possession. And I think that is the least. You know, we haven't always seen that this season, Dan, and I think from now on in, they've got to show that level of performance.
The hardest thing, though, with this is the mindset, the character, because there's a bit of vulnerability into it. Confidence at the end, people going on their knees, dejected. Yes, Tuesday will be a completely different game to what it was today, what it was against Brentford, but psychologically you're thinking, we don't keep clean sheets as a team. The last time was against West Ham, so it does over time start affecting you. So you're thinking, we've got to get more than one to probably go on and win. So something has to change in terms of mindset, character to keep clean sheet. And when you look at it, Daniel Everson, he played really well. And defensively, there were positives, but psychologically, when you know you're going to concede or that vulnerability, that does play into it all. And got to have the confidence there for what games that on paper look winnable.
As we said, there's another huge game for Leicester City this weekend. This time their women are in action tomorrow here at King Power Stadium. They face Reading. It's a massive game. You can watch all of the action or follow all the action on LCFC TV. Here's a little snippet of something you can see tomorrow.
So came down to the Leicester Tigers Stadium. A couple of the Leicester Tigers girls showed us a few moves, showed us how to play pretty much. It was really fun. I enjoyed it. I didn't realise how many rules and how tricky it actually is.
That full feature will be available on Matchday Live tomorrow. The women playing Reading. It's a 2:30 start on lcfc.com and YouTube, so do join us for that. As well as that, we've got plenty more coming up, of course, on LCFC TV and lcfc.com over the coming days. Firstly is that massive game for the women. Then we'll talk about this Crystal Palace game on Extra Time on Monday in more detail, of course. We'll talk about Daniel Everson, his performance as well. Got very unlucky with that own goal today. Then it's a huge one again. It's that Match Day Live against Aston Villa. Huge game now on Tuesday for the Foxes. And you can listen to the new podcast with Jerry Taggart, Matt Elliott and David Nugent, Leicester's the Place. That is available either to watch on YouTube or wherever you get all of your podcasts. Thank you very much to Matty Fryatt, to Jerry Taggart and to Matt Elliott on another really disappointing away day for the Foxes. But we go again on Tuesday, hoping for a better return. So do join us from 6:45 on Tuesday for that Villa game.